After bursting on the scene to critical acclaim with her feature film directorial debut in 2020, the movie industry was keen to see what writer-director Emerald Fennell would do next. And it comes now in the shape of a psychological thriller about a young student, Oliver, who crosses paths with the handsome and popular Felix at Oxford University. And it is a meeting that leads to no end of drama and intrigue as Oliver is ushered into the aristocratic world of SALTBURN.
Honestly, home doesn't mean the same for me as it does for you, Felix.
Well, why don't you come home with me? Come to SALTBURN.
I see why Felix likes you so much. You're so, real.
Oliver, I have a complete and utter horror of ugliness. Ever since I was very young. I don't know why.
Maybe because you're a terrible person.
As both writer and director of SALTBURN, Emerald Fennell was revisiting familiar territory, having done the same with her first film, Promising Young Woman, which won her an Oscar. She also reunites with actress Carey Mulligan, who is growing into a force to be reckoned with after a string of impressive performances in The Dig, She Said, and Maestro.
Judita DaSilva, Arise News Nigeria.
Hi.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'll jump straight in. You collaborated with Carey Mulligan on Promising Young Woman and then again on SALTBURN. In movies, we've seen amazing collaborations between directors and female actors like Todd Haynes and Julianne Moore, Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter, and my favorite, Jean-Luc Godard and Anna Karina. As a director, we get to see the inception point of what might be a long-term collaboration between you and Carey. What is it about her that works for you?
Oh, gosh, everything. She's, I think the thing that I find about Carey that is sort of really exceptional is she's sort of like I've sort of said before, she's like a deep sea diver. She's completely herself, always completely herself. And then she goes in, you call action, and she goes in and she goes so deep, so fast that it's kind of dizzying. And it's kind of like a possession. It's a remarkable thing. She is so, the thing that interests her and interests me is the kind of the physical, the being in the moment, the totally being with her scene partner, the kind of opportunity for things to take surprising turns. She leans into the difficulty always.
We met in rehab, so it was just so lovely at first, and then all of his business partners started sort of falling out of windows, you know.
Right. Lucky escape.
I suppose so. But he spoke Russian all the time, and it just sounded so romantic, and I don't know the Russian word for horse, so I sort of thought it sounded like lovely poetry.
Ah.
Daddy always said I'd end up at the bottom of the Thames.
So far, so good.
I don't know what I'd do without Elsbeth. She really saved me.
Don't bang on about it, Pamela, darling. You know we're delighted to have you for however long it is you mean to stay.
Forever?
So my next question is, in Nigeria, there are generations of kids that were sent abroad to British boarding schools. And when I watched your film, I had this out-of-body experience where it resonated with me because I had flashbacks to expat weekends at my schoolmates' homes and vacations with them. And so how does it feel as a director that you've made this piece of art and it's finding unexpected resonance with people that you might have thought it wouldn't speak to, like kids like me from India, from Nigeria, from Korea, from China, who went to these schools and had that culture clash?
Honestly, it's so amazing if that can happen. And for me, like, the only reason to make anything is to make the connection between all of us, to have that relationship where, you know, it's such an electrifying relationship between a movie and an audience, and it's something that I felt so much in my life, that experience of sitting in a movie theater and feeling like I've been seen in some way. And I think this film for me as well it's about all of those things, but it's also about that feeling of how do we make ourselves? How do we present ourselves to the world? What is it that we feel will make us interesting, desirable? You know, how do we get inside? How do we get to be inside the place that actually has no love for us? Why are we in this sort of sadomasochistic relationship with, you know, whether it's looking at things on people on Instagram or whatever, or with our real relationships? There's this feeling that we all have of, you know, of kind of constant need and desire, even though we know it's not good for us, even though we know it's not reciprocated. And that stickiness is so, you know, it's never been more relevant. It's so strange. You know, this genre is 150 years, 200 years old. And yet I think we've never felt so in the thrall of these things. And it's kind of fascinating to me, but it's so wonderful to hear that. Thank you for saying that.
To create the world of Saltburn, Emerald Fennell assembled actors that could depict the very unique and specific type of people that inhabit that world. So alongside her two leading men, Barry Keoghan from Marvel's Eternals and Jacob Elordi from EUPHORIA, there would be a mother unlike most. And for that role, Emerald turned to Golden Globe winning actress Rosamund Pike.
Oh no, I think I might have found somewhere.
Oh, well done, darling.
Yeah, my cousin has a flat.
Oh, that'll suit you very well, a nice little flat.
It's more of a bedsit.
I
Really,
loved living in a bedsit in my 20s. It's so freeing to live all in one room, and much less cleaning to do. Oh, but it'll be terrible when you're gone. How will I cope?
Well, I could actually stay for a little bit
Oh,
longer.
no, darling, no. You must be desperate to be rid of us and find your own place. I quite understand.
My first question for you, Rosamund, is your character, Elspeth, is the matriarch of this obscenely wealthy uber-British family, but she's also, Emerald, as director and writer, her main instrument for an almost satirical commentary on people like that, of which she is one. So what drew you to playing a character like this in this particular way?
Well, I do, when I see something that's so economically well written and funny, it's a sort of no-brainer, because she's, you know, the point is Elspeth is a very real creation. You know, there are Elspeths everywhere, and you know, she's obviously not thinking she's funny. She's just funny sort of by default, because what she says is so absurd most of the time. But also, I think, as you touched on, the matriarch aspect interested me, because she's also a matriarch who's completely uninterested in her own children, which I thought was also a kind of, you know, stroke of genius of Emerald to sort of write that. I mean, she definitely thinks, you know, girls should be fawning over her son Felix, but, you know, she holds him as almost as much as arm's length as Venetia. I mean, I don't think they barely, you know, all my exchanges are not really with my own children throughout the entire film.
I even wanted to pick up on that point, because Elspeth and her family are presented as the almost passive antagonists to the narrative up to a point.
Right.
But then it gets to a point where you actually begin to feel pity for her, because when she reaches this emotional denouement, where she should be so expressive, she's so emotionally stunted, she can't actually engage. So how is it as an actress when you have that moment that it's full of drama, full of emotion, but your character lacks the capacity to express it, and you've got to convey the entire body of that on screen for us to understand the totality of the character?
Gosh, thank you very much. You've understood every aspect of this woman. How it's really, thank you, because yes, that's you've said it all for me. That's exactly what it was, the interesting part of Elspeth, because she's, you know, I felt she was a woman who was emotionally anorexic in a way, that if she you know, she sort of wants to, she almost has to starve herself of feeling, because to feel is so dangerous. She's so ill-equipped to feel, or to let herself dip the toe in the water of real emotion, that she just has to bury it, because I think she thinks she'd be sucked down the plug hole of kind of something that she doesn't even understand if she let it in. So, but of course the question, as you rightly say, is where does it go? Because the trauma has happened and she's immediately silenced it. And so where is it? So that is the challenge of playing Elspeth, is where do you put it and where does it sit? And it definitely, you know, I definitely felt it in her. And it was very, I felt quite ill at the end of the film in a funny way, because you'd sort of buried this, your body, I think a lot of the time doesn't know that what you're doing is not real. So it experiences this stuff, and yet it never lets it out. So it was a very strange one, because obviously she's so deliciously funny as well.
Yeah.
That's when we really love her. But so thank you for recognizing the other part as well.
Thank you so much, because I just to say before I wrap up is that it was a razor sharp performance. So congratulations. I really enjoyed watching it.
Well, thank you very much. I hope did you like the film as a whole?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I was a Brideshead groupie, so I was so ready for this film. So yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Of the original, of the series, the long series you loved, the Anthony Andrews.
Jeremy Irons. I'm a Jeremy Irons groupie.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Thank you.
It was because they got it all right, and I think Emerald has got it all so specific, so specifically right. It's the detail that she injects, the surprising detail that, you know, yes, you're in a massive house, but there can also be kind of a scuzzy, you know, watching of, you know, someone eating peanut butter out of a jar while watching a horror film. You know, that can also exist within.
I'm literally about to jump down the rabbit hole, but I'm being told to move on. But
okay, bye.
The doors of Saltburn are only ever opened to those who are invited, and should that invitation be accepted, there lies a place where obsession and ambition meet arrogance and entitlement, creating an experience that one might never forget.
This place, you know, it's not for you.
Lots of people get lost in Saltburn.
Oh, that's just giving me goosebumps. Look, Pamela.
Oh, no. I think you're a moth. Quiet, harmless, drawn to shiny things.
What have you done? I just thought that maybe I could help.
You're not leaving us. You're not leaving Saltburn.
I don't think I'll ever go home again.